fuck me hard.
Howdy, folks. Your host, Double J, back here, along with my associate and co-host here, Nick, from the host of the Occult Rejects for our Fridays. How you doing, Nick?
What up? What up? Doing good. Looking forward to the show today.
Absolutely. We got Ron from New England, the host of the Wicked Planet podcast, joining us here as a guest this evening. Ron, great to see you here, bud. How you doing?
Good, guys. What's happening?
Exciting times. 2025 is off to a hot start.
Boy, you think? It's been absolutely crazy. I have to walk away from my computer and see what's going on so I can get some work done, because I do have to make money, at some point here. But yeah, it keeps you gripped right in. I think that's part of the agenda anyways, right? Keep you locked to a screen. But yeah, it's kind of crazy out there.
For sure. So you got a couple new things going on the Wicked Planet podcast since we last spoke, at least I feel like.
Yeah,
some Liberty Squawks, maybe some other stuff going on over there.
Well, actually, yeah. So Liberty Squawks is a show I do with my buddy Rick Smith, and he's heavily duty into politics. But
sure.
And everybody knows that I like politics and geopolitics, and just kind of trying to analyze what's going on all over the world. But it's basically, but I don't want people to think it's just a politics show. So it's it's Liberty Squawks, and then it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? So we're going to have guests come on, and we're going to talk about anything that fits under any of those labels. So I've got a couple of shows that I'm finishing editing, so they'll be coming out on Liberty Squawks and on Wicked Planet, and you can find Liberty Squawks on the Wicked Planet feed for now. It does have its own feed on Spotify. I'm working on getting it on Apple. For whatever reason, it's giving me a little bit of trouble, but I'll get that figured out. And but yeah, so I got a show lined up with a chick that I've known for years that does. She worked for Harley Davidson for like 25 years. She retired from Harley Davidson, and she moved back. Well, she didn't move back to the States, but she comes back to the States a lot, and she does solo motorcycle tours. And she did a 9,500 mile solo ride this last fall, and she wants to start a company doing tours for like female motorcyclists. So that's going to be a really interesting show. And during I want to say it was the beginning of last week, I had another lady on who is an archaeologist and anthropologist, and she's been to Egypt and stuff. And she recently did a trip to Cusco, Peru. In Cusco, Peru is where Machu Picchu is, and it's not far from Lake Titicaca. And these are all ancient alien, forbidden history hotspots. So I had her come on, and we talked for about an hour and a half, and that show will be coming out probably beginning of the week if everything goes well. So yeah, same thing, Wicked Planet. It's been a little slow over there. I had a pretty good case of pneumonia right after leading up to Christmas and everything, but that took me about a month to get over. So I've been kind of dogging it a little bit, trying to get back into the groove of doing the show, and then in a couple of weeks, I take my winter break, and I'll be going down to Aruba, because I do that at the end of January every year. And, but I got some stuff lined up. And then when I get back, I'm going to get back on the horse and try to get more shows out a little bit more consistently. So, but thank you for having me on. I always like getting together with you guys. It's always a good time.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you've retooled your Wicked Planet podcast a little bit over there too, as well, huh? As far as your co-hosts go.
Yeah, well, it's just me. I don't even really have a co-host for Wicked Planet. I mean, my Rick Smith will come on and do shows on Wicked Planet with me. I do have recurring guests. Let's say that. So I have somebody that's a big hit with the listeners, Anonymous Sean. He's supposed to be coming in the next couple of weeks. People love to hear what he has going on. And my buddy Private Eye Bill, he's going to be coming on, I want to say beginning of February. And we're going to be doing some shows about canine units, police dog units, and some of the investigations that he's been working on lately. So we got some really kind of different and some interesting stuff. I do have a lady lined up to come on Wicked Planet. She happens to be just now getting over probably the same thing that me and everybody else that has. this upper respiratory thing that's been going around. And now we got norovirus running around in the schools. My niece told me that when she came home today. I said, "Oh, well, that's nice."
Norovirus?
So yeah, norovirus. It's the pukes and the shits basically. And but I got a woman coming on by the name of Karen Wilkinson, and she's an associate of L.A. Marzulli, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. You might be, but she's
Sure.
supposed to be a dyed-in-the-wool alien abductee. So she sent me a copy of her book, a signed copy. Actually, really, really nice lady. She has an interesting story, and I think that's going to be a really good show too. It's just trying to line up with her to get her to come on the show when she's feeling a little better. I said, listen, if you don't feel up to it, you don't feel up to it. It's totally fine. I'm ready when you are. So the listeners, I think they'll enjoy that one too. And then of course I'm going to get back into some of the crazy stuff that we used to always talk about. But
what's her book about? Does she do Nephilim stories like L.A. Marzulli?
No. Her book is about getting abducted multiple times by extraterrestrials. Yeah. So I want to say the name of the book is Stolen Seed. I don't have it in front of me right now. It's actually on my bed table because I've been reading it at night. And but if anybody wants to look her up, she's on Instagram, she's on TikTok, she's on Facebook, Karen Wilkinson. So that's going to be super interesting. I've read about 3/4 of the book, and I'm like, wow, that's some crazy stuff. So. But anyway,
what's the basis of her abduction tales?
From
what you've read so far.
The basis is that they've used her for producing hybrid offspring. Where she would discover that she was pregnant, and then she'd be so many months on, and then all of a sudden something would happen, and she would go to the doctors, and the doctor says, "You're not pregnant. There's nothing in there." And she had gone to the doctors, and the doctor said, "Oh yeah, you're so many weeks on or whatever." I know for a lot of listeners that might sound out there, but I don't know. I think she's pretty sincere. I mean, it is what it is. It's just really interesting to me, because, in that one, and I won't call them conspiracy theorists, but, in that kind of that genre, there's a lot of people that have said they've experienced that. I mean, obviously there's been multiple books written about it and movies done about it, but she thinks that she's had at least two babies stolen from her.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I mean, is that how she got connected with L.A. Marzulli? That sounds almost like a modern day.
I believe so. Tale. Yeah, I believe
right?
So. Yeah. I don't.
And her stuff doesn't mating with mortals, right? Isn't that the shtick with the Nephilim?
Yeah. Well, that goes back to biblical, right? Where the angels or the watchers came down and had sex with human women, and their offspring were Nephilim. The Nephilim story kind of interests me. I've got a few books on it. Obviously, I have the Genesis 6 conspiracy book where I think it's Gary Wayne, if I got that name right. I'm not really sure. He wrote super thick books, like 700-800 pages. But I've been doing a lot of biblical reading too, and studying the Book of Enoch and the Dead Sea Scrolls and the Nag Hammadi texts, which were discovered back in the late 40s. So, but the Nephilim, I don't know. A lot of other shows, they just kind of wear it out, and they talk a lot about it. But I don't know. I think when I'm ready to talk about Nephilim, it's going to be as legit as I could possibly make it come out. You know what I mean? But I mean, anybody that denies that there was giants on the earth, I mean, I think they got it wrong. I mean, I think there was definitely giants. Yeah.
I'm sitting in Giant Country right now.
Nick looks like he's getting into his own world already.
Oh, yeah. We're talking about aliens. I was wondering, how many times did they abduct this lady?
At least 2, possibly 3.
And all they needed was a DNA?
Allegedly, what happened was they abducted her, impregnated her.
Oh, of course.
And then once she carried the baby for so long, then they abducted her again and took the fetus.
Yeah, that's
And
what I'm
she
saying. It
says that
sounds
She was
very Nephilim
pregnant
like,
on
right?
Earth with an alien baby, and then she got a C-section in space.
Well, I don't know if it was a C-section or not. You
Well,
know,
I
those
mean, if
aliens.
they took it out of her. I mean, they use a vacuum and suck it out of a vag. I mean, whatever.
Yeah, the aliens, they might have some type of technology
Yeah.
to get it out of there. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's
They
kind
should
of
have
like
just been able to beam the baby up out of the stomach. They didn't even need to take her then, right?
yeah, that would make more sense and be a lot easier, wouldn't it? It's like, hey, listen, don't wake this lady up. Just suck that thing out and let's get out of here before somebody sees us. Yeah, I know I know it sounds like a far out story, but I've listened to a lot of
At
LA
least it's
Marzulli stuff.
it's her story. You got people
It's
out there
her
telling their
story.
parents bullshit stories still.
No, it's definitely her story. Yeah, she does the whole circuit. I mean, she was just at a big conference. I don't know if it was in Las Vegas or something like that, but I don't know. She's just a really nice lady, and I'm not getting the "I'm full of shit" vibe from her, honestly. So
Oh,
I
well,
give
I think in the
everybody
year
I give everybody the benefit of the doubt anyway.
Well, I think my ex-co-host Lux believed his own lies. So.
Well, yeah, there's always that too, right? But I don't know. I think if something like that happened to me, I don't know. And they say this is a phenomenon too, that people won't even talk about it. Like people don't want to talk.
I've heard stories about this.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about it because they want people are going to think that they're crazy, right? But I don't know.
I think there's a better chance it's the government doing it, making people think it's alien.
Well, that's another theory for sure. Yeah, that's another
but
theory.
I think also in the year 2025, all bets are off at this. Especially given what we've already witnessed here this year. I think it's going to get even weirder.
The way that it started out, it's not looking good for the rest of it, right? I mean, everything is getting unleashed, and and everybody said, "Well, it's to keep Trump from taking, taking office or whatever." And and I think to a degree, a lot of that is probably true. But
yeah,
I mean, we had
they can't
the
cancel Trump, they'll cancel everything else, right?
Yeah, I mean, we had the drones leading up to Christmas that fell off the map. And then now we got the fires again, which look a lot like Lahaina in Maui, like same MO. I mean, and then we found out, that they were going to be having the Olympics in LA. There's an Olympics coming up in LA at some point. And they're like, well, this is one way to get all these rich fuckers out of their neighborhood. We'll just burn them out.
I heard all the blue trees are still standing, though. Is that true?
Blue trees and blue recycling bins. Yeah, there's blue recycling bins, pictures of them all over the place. It's just laying there like nothing happened. Dude,
are you serious? I was joking.
I am 100% serious.
Yeah,
I was joking about
definitely a lot of that.
Remember people going on about the blue roofs in Hawaii?
Yeah.
You don't notice like the red car 2 blocks away that didn't get burned. Like we didn't see that in the same picture. I don't understand.
I think there's some truth to that if it was directed energy weapons that were used. Now, of course, just like during Lahaina in Maui, the Maui fires, people were given videos showing, rays coming, laser beams coming from the sky or whatever. And then a lot of that was debunked, but there was a few videos that weren't debunked in Maui. Well, there's some videos coming out in LA and of laser beams coming down from the sky. Then there's videos of like weird shit happening in the sky and then fire coming out of the clouds. I mean, with AI and Photoshop and film, if you know anything about film, I could make it look like a dragon will come out, and just jump up and start tickling Nick's bald head. You know what I mean? So I mean, you can make anything up. I get that, but there's a lot of shady shit in this Palisades fire because
there's a lot of shady shit in Pacific Palisades.
That's what I'm saying. The Palisades. Yeah. So,
well, I was gonna say, speaking of alien hybrids, do you recall this 10 years ago? Alien. So this dude living in Pacific Palisades who just died in his car and had his fiance leave him there because he said he was some alien hybrid that the government owned. But he had like a stash full of like 500,000 rounds, a couple hundred guns, and a bunch of cash in his Pacific Palisades home.
So he was ready to rock and roll.
He was ready to party.
That story goes to 2015, huh? So that's 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was 10 years ago, yeah. Here's one from the Hollywood Reporter. It's entitled Inside Jeffrey Lash's. That was the guy's name, Jeffrey Lash. A decomposing body, 10 duped girlfriends, and the saga of the alien con man in Hollywood's backyard. Jeffrey Lash was a spy, a post 9/11 covert operative who seduced women in LA's Tony Pacific Palisades with tales of supernatural powers. Police found him dead in his car with a $5 million gun stash near the homes of showbiz elite. A stranger than fiction tale emerged of abuse, lies, a mystery illness, and a grifter with more charisma than 10 Trumps.
That is interesting.
And it quickly got swept under the rug.
We're going to have to look into that one. I had never heard that story. And
I should have. Yeah. Again, he told his most recent girlfriend or fiance, because he was a bit of a con man, it seemed, but also definitely some sort of operative. He had all sorts of full auto guns and stuff like that. I mean, it was a pretty wild situation. But yeah,
sounds kind of governmental to me.
Yeah, right. He definitely could be an alien hybrid.
That might be a good assumption, right?
Yeah.
So it's very odd you mentioned, speaking of your alien hybrid story and then the Pacific Palisades, here's an incident that occurred with both of those situations. So a lot of weird stuff pops off in those Pacific Palisades.
Pop it on.
For example, the Manson family lived there one summer with Dennis Wilson in the Pacific Palisades, summer of '68.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with how that's all set up there, like LA and where this is. I mean, it's part of LA, right? The Pacific Palisades.
Sure.
And that's where Malibu
next to
is,
Malibu.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
It goes Malibu and then Beverly Hills. The Hollywood Hills are kind of attached to Pacific Palisades, kind of north and to the east of Pacific Palisades, kind of up and to the north and to the east, giving horrible directions. But so there's fires over there. There's fires on the other side of the Hollywood Hills over on Pasadena. And, and then there was fires to the kind of the southeast of the city. So it was almost triangulated fires.
Yeah. Did you see the video? Did you see the satellite videos of that where it shows 3 fires simultaneously going off?
I did. That's pretty interesting.
I mean, exactly at the same time.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, we don't know. Again, we don't know what's true and what isn't, right? I mean, that's the whole thing with this AI shit. That's everybody's in such a rush to just adopt, and it's like, okay, now it used to be, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. You can't believe anything.
My rules
now. Yeah.
Right.
There's stuff that like people in apps, people will use AI that looks almost so realistic. And it's like, if they're giving us that to play with, what the hell do you think is out there?
Yeah, it's like, here you go. Have fun.
And this shit has been out for 20 years. Maybe with the government or whatever.
Well, the stuff that they're letting us look at.
Yeah.
Who's to say what they have?
At this point, the news could literally be AI, and we probably wouldn't know.
Right. That's like saying, here, little Jimmy, I know you're only 12, but here's an M16 full auto. Go have fun with your friends. It's like me when I was a kid, when my dad was a big fireworks dealer back when it was illegal in New Hampshire, because it's legal now. He would give me like bricks of fireworks, boxes of M80s, cherry bombs, a book of matches. Go have fun with your friends. Don't blow yourself up. My mother was like, are you kidding me? He goes, he'll be fine. If he messes up, he'll only do it once. So. But yeah, AI, I mean, I can see, what really sucks about AI, just from a content creator's perspective, people that are really not talented making content, but are really talented with technology can make good content only because they can use AI.
Oh yeah. You got people out there making fucking shitty comic books with AI. Acting like they're important beyond somebody.
It's like people that, like Paranoid American.
That's who I was talking about.
His artwork is amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, he doesn't do it. It's AI.
Yeah. Oh, he doesn't?
Yeah, his shit's AI.
All of it?
Most of it.
Oh, because I've seen some.
I'm not familiar.
I know he has admitted to me. I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong, I apologize.
Well, I seen some stuff he done a few years ago before AI was even like a thing. I thought that was pretty cool.
Oh, no, he can. He can.
Yeah. Anyways, just an example, right?
Yeah.
And it's like me. I'm getting ready to start on a couple of books, writing a couple of stories that I've been kind of sitting on for a while. And then you see these clips on TikTok or X or whatever. Would you believe me if I told you you could write a 500-page book using AI in 5 minutes? It's like, dude. I mean, is this like the sanitized version? That's what it like with me. Like when I do a lot of reading, you get into a rhythm reading a particular writer's cadence of how he writes a story, right?
Sure.
Like
style.
like JD Salinger. I got back into him, was into him pretty heavily a few years back. I pulled out all my old Salinger books and started reading some of his short stories the other night. I really like Ernest Hemingway. I mean, I could pick up a book without even a title on it and start reading and tell you that it's Ernest Hemingway just by the cadence of how he writes, just his writing style, right? So if people are going to start writing books now with AI, how are you going to add that kind of personal aspect into it? You know what I mean? I just don't know how artificial intelligence would be able to do that. And I, for one, I'm not, if I'm going to write a book, dude, it's going to be me. I'm going to write the book. It's not going to be artificial intelligence writing a book that's supposed to be super great, because then, if it does go somewhere, well, you find out that you have no talent and you're a fucking hack. Right.
Yeah. Even if you have the AI study your own writing and then have it write in your style, it's still not going to be the same.
It's not the same as you sitting down, clicking it out on the typewriter, man.
Right.
The thoughts coming directly from your head to the paper.
It takes the soul out of it.
It's not the same. Yeah. It's exactly. It takes the personality out of it.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think AI is it's obviously a double-edged sword, because there's probably a lot of good things you could do with AI, right? You can solve a lot of problems with AI. But I think, just like what Nick said, AI can be used for very nefarious reasons. And just look at the mass formation psychosis on X. I see, I'll give you an example. This dude posted a video of that guy in the fires trying to save the rabbit. Everybody's seen the fucking video, right? And everybody's like, oh, this man's great. This man needs a medal. Thank God for this guy. And I'm like, okay, that video was from fires back in 2017, not even the recent fires. But everybody and their brother believed it, right? And that's just one example. And then you have other people, and a lot of people talk about the misinformation and disinformation that goes on social media. And to a degree, like, they have a point. Sure. because people can be led astray so easily.
Oh my God.
I was thinking about making up posts, like just doing like a hack account. And making up a post and just see how people react to it.
Ron, I've thought of doing the same thing. Me and a couple of people actually talked about trying to redo Q and see how many motherfuckers would actually believe it.
Yeah,
well, it's funny you mentioned that. It's funny you mentioned that. I don't want to call out Pete Thomas, but I saw him post something here about the Hawk Tua girl being a sibling of the Comet Pizza shooter. But I think that's a fake post. I saw that earlier, but I think that's a fake post. Because they both have the last name Welch.
I saw that. I haven't had time to look into it.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be interesting if they were siblings? Because she just pumped and dumped people for millions and millions of dollars. And of course, she's blaming it on somebody else. But
sure.
I mean, and look at how quick she shot to the top for notoriety.
It's certainly possible.
To me, it doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense to me how these people.
It's possible they're part of the same family, because that Edgar Welch fella, the Comet Pizza shooter, who apparently was shot by a police officer in a traffic stop and shot and killed, I guess, yesterday. His father was a Hollywood producer, so there you go with the Welch family connections to Hollywood. Maybe that's why she got a jump start in Hollywood and got signed out with the Logan Paul brothers, or the Paul brothers.
Yeah. It's just, to me, it just seems like, once somebody goes, I read that. And it just seems to me, somebody, they can go viral and then, just go viral one time and it punches their ticket forever. I mean, these people have to come back with an act too. I mean, are you going to be a one-trick pony or not?
Sure.
I mean, I'm not going to say any names because I kind of like the guy. But I know this podcaster that started out kind of small. And for whatever reason, he knew all the right people. And he's got a show on somebody else's big platform now. And, but, you know, I've been on shows with him in the past. The fucking guy's a one-trick pony, man. He just, you know, where's your act 2? Where's chapter 2?
Damn,
you know what I mean?
This is
it's just because something goes viral once, you know, and then they take off and then they get, you know, hundreds of thousands of followers, but you're recycling the same shit.
But you know, I think that's part of the goal. Part of the goal there, right?
What's that?
Because that way, I think that's part of the shtick, right? Because then that way somebody will conversation for this comment. I'll have to look into that. I do know that I looked into the Edgar Welch's family back when it occurred, but if she was raised by a grandmother, that would be interesting. But you know, as far as the making of Hawk 2, it makes sense to me because as far as these Hollywood elements, these folks that do these pump and dumps like the Paul brothers are notorious for. It's not the first meme coin they've created. You know, they've done this before. They kind of burnt their own names in the process, so they got to use somebody else's names. But the idea of promoting somebody to launch them into stardom, this kind of promotes that the debasement of the general society and culture, because then everyone's going to try to mimic the Hawk 2, thinking they can also be a millionaire overnight, right?
And that's exactly what the problem is. You know, sometimes when I'm doing some doom scrolling, right?
Right.
And it's not really X. Like on X, it's mostly news people that I follow and other podcasters and, you know, like you guys or whatever, and other sites that I follow. But on TikTok, you know, you can just doom scroll on TikTok and you just come across random people. And it's like,
sure.
Oh my God. Everybody and their brother is trying to make it on TikTok just to hit that one viral video. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I mean, I get it. I don't have a problem with them doing it, but my whole thought process on it is you got people that are really organically trying hard to do it and have legitimate good content. And then you have people like I was watching a post the other day and I'm like, what the fuck? Why is this weird? This post looks weird. And I started looking at the person wasn't even a real person. It was an AI person.
Oh, was it an ad? Did they get you an ad?
No, it's their channel. It's their channel. It was like on TikTok. It's like the person's not even a real person. You follow what I'm saying? I mean, you're watching it and it's somebody talking, like you're looking at it like, oh, did they have like a weird filter on there or something? You know, and then you're looking at it a little closer and you're like, yeah, something doesn't look right here. And then I did a little bit of digging and come to find out it's an AI generated host, you know, page host or whatever you want to call it. But I'm like, yeah, here we go. Hey, you know, something to talk about too, 2025, seeing how we're kicking it off so well. You know, 2025 is the Deagle report year. That's the year that we're supposed
the depopulation report, right?
Yeah, we're supposed to lose 75% of our population this year.
Oh, that could be great.
Yeah, I do recall that. Thankfully, I think people can't count, so maybe it's only 7.5.
No, it's 75. It's 75. We're supposed to drop our population by 75. I did multiple shows on the Deagle report.
I'm just basing it on the lack of ability of
may
math.
Not be bad.
I would say even 40 or 50 would be okay. You know, and this sickness that's going on, have you guys heard about the fog COVID?
I've seen a little bit about that.
How the fog has been making people sick. That strange fog that's been going on.
Oh, no, that's just called chemtrails that fell from the sky.
Well, yeah, but it's like, you know, when Ryan Christensen from the last American Vagabond, when he does a story about it, it's probably something to listen to. Because that guy doesn't mess around. That guy just doesn't do random shit, right? And I started watching his show on Rumble there this morning. I didn't have time. It was Friday. I had to get a bunch of stuff done. But I'm like, you know, it is kind of weird because this upper respiratory thing that everybody's coming down with started about a month ago. and it coincided right around the time where this mysterious fog was hitting all these cities, right? It was a little before Christmas.
Sure.
So, a little before Christmas, a little after Christmas. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just really strange because, you know, it was like in the 40s and 50s here, and then like overnight it went down into the 20s. This is the longest stretch of 20-degree weather that I can remember in New England, and I've been in New England basically my whole life. It was so freaking cold in the last week. I mean, you acclimate to it, and you have to dress for it just to go outside to, you know, walk the dogs or whatever. But it's like, it's not only bitterly cold, but it's extremely windy. Like, not wind gusts either, just like a constant wind. You know, steady wind. It's just that's you know, and we also talked. I want to say it was back in the fall. I was talking to another friend of mine online, another podcaster. We were talking about the winds, how the winds were a little weird because they weren't like, you know, when you get wind, you get a gust of wind and you get a little, but it's just like a steady wind, like somebody out there just got a fan on. You know, it's just somebody's got a fan on high, and there's no relenting of the wind. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, cow farts to COVID fog.
Yeah, it's been super cold here too. We've had single digit temperatures here in Ohio consecutive days this week, which is, and the following week as well, which is, and 2 weeks ago it was like 50 degrees. So we've got some wild temperatures going on here too.
Well, we've been down in the 20s for 2 weeks straight now. And typically when we get down into the 20s, it's only for like 3 or 4 days, right? And what's really odd about it, like, we have no snow on the ground, none. I mean, we're going to get a little storm tonight into tomorrow. We might get a dusting to 2 inches of snow. But I mean, it literally, if you went outside right now, it looks like it would like beginning of December. I mean, there's no snow. There's no snow. There's no snow bankings. There's nothing. Yeah. Yeah, nothing.
Damn, I mean, I got like a foot of snow here.
Oh, northern New Hampshire, they got like 2 feet of snow just in the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
So, you know, but northern New Hampshire is a way different animal than central New Hampshire, where I am. You know.
Yeah, but typically you all have snow at this time of year, right? I mean, it's January.
Yeah. We start getting snow like mid-December, and it doesn't stop. You know, but I mean, the last couple of years. You know, it's weird. It's like we go on a 3 to 5 year cycle where, you know, every 3 or 4 years we'll have a really snowy winter, right? And then, like last year, I maybe plowed my driveway 3 times. And when I was younger, like when I first moved into this house, I swear to God, I had to plow at least once a week. You know, that's how much snow we would get. I mean, we had snow bankings so high out here that was insane. I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like I remember, I want to say about 4 years ago. Yeah, it was 4 years ago because we were headed to Florida for Christmas. So it was before Christmas. And the day before we were going to fly out, we had over 3 feet of snow in one storm, right?
Sure.
So we got plowed out and we got out of here. Like, it was good. Like the flight got delayed. You know, we had to wait a couple extra hours to get on the plane. But once you're up in the air, you're good to go. You know, you get dropped off in Orlando and snow's the last thing on your mind. Well, you know, I had texted my brother on Christmas, and all that snow had melted. It had gone from 3 feet of snow, 30 degrees, to 70 degrees in 4 days.
Wow.
What's up with that?
Yeah, who's to blame for all this? You know, between that and the New Hampshire mild winter you're having, what are we blaming Al Gore for this? Is this Al Gore's fault?
Well, you know, they reported on World News, like you know, it's been on all the news that 2024 was the hottest year on record, up by 2 degrees from the normal.
I feel like you hear that every year.
Exactly,
well, you do,
right?
Nick. You do. Every single year, it's the hottest year on record. It's like it's their mantra.
It's
You
the
know,
Al
but they
Gore
have-
propaganda machine.
And it's like,
But
no,
they have
actually,
to
last
do
summer
that.
was worse. I still remember how horrible it was. Like, but
Last
yet,
summer, we had a good hot summer this last year. Yeah, but see, I'm okay with that. Like, I like it hot. You know, if I need to cool off, I'll just jump in the pool. You know, I don't have a problem with that. And I don't mind working in it either. I mean, not working out in the direct sunlight, but you know what I mean, right? But I remember when I was a kid, I couldn't stand the heat, but now that's all I want. Like I'm so tired of the cold already. It's crazy. You know, Teresa had posted something earlier about what they're spraying could have made it more flammable out in Pacific
saw that.
Palisades.
I
You
heard
know
it was
that, yeah,
That's a good
that's well, they said,
suggestion.
well, you know, a powdered aluminum, and we know that aluminum is something that's in the chemtrails, right? We know that. So powdered aluminum is extremely flammable.
maybe they just like toss log
Sure.
starters inside the fucking woods.
Yeah, I don't know.
You know,
You
like
know,
the
some
stuff you use to start your fire. Just toss a couple of those in there, right?
well,
For-
there was some
for all we know,
videos
they
of people
napalm
allegedly
downtown.
doing that. Yeah, napalm, that would really stick good. Did you see they arrested some alleged
It's a good way to
some
get it
al-
going.
an
Way to
alleged
start a fire.
an alleged migrant who had like a hand propane torch with him, and they said that he was going around starting fires. He also had a United Nations reprogrammable or refillable debit card on him, and I want to say they said he had multiple cell phones. So a bunch of like citizens wrestled this guy to the ground, tied him up with zip ties, and called the cops. Right. So the cops said, "Well, there's enough. We can arrest him." So they arrested him. You know what they did today? Oh, we don't have enough probable cause to keep him. We're just going to turn him loose.
Sure.
Yeah.
Typical.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
I
gotta
do
admit
imagine there's a
lot
good
of
deal of
failures
arson being
there.
involved in all these
Oh my
fires.
God, it's all arson, JJ.
Yeah. Good deal.
I
of it.
mean, yeah, we've always heard, you know, and I can remember even as a kid watching the news and seeing all these fires out there near LA or anywheres in California because of the Santa Ana winds that they get every year, which is those dry winds that they get, high winds. And yeah, if you're not taking care of your property, I mean, if I left brush piles all over this place, I'd probably have the same problem. You know what I mean? You know, but they
Sure.
have scrub brush. It's very dry there. They're not taking care of their property like they should be, and it's just
They
it
emptied
just
the
catches
reservoirs.
on, and it
They
catches
had
on
water
fire.
reservoirs for Pacific Palisades. It was completely empty.
Yeah,
Yeah. To say these aren't intentional, like I think there's different components. There's the arson component. There's the government. You know, oops, we didn't know what was going. We're new. We don't know what we're doing. Attitude. You know, where they're like, oh, we didn't know we're supposed to have water in the water reservoir. We didn't know that. We're brand new.
yeah. And well, the other thing is too is that it's kind of, you have to admit, I don't really think it's a conspiracy theory, but you know, we've been talking about all these military age men that are coming across the border. And
Sure.
you know, there's something in the U.S. Army manual, JJ, you've probably seen it, where you can use fire for warfare. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
To distract and to because I mean, think of this, right? If you light up like 3 major fires at one time, like allegedly, this is what happened here, right? And what are you going to do? They've already defunded the police. They've defunded the fire department. They sent a bunch of their what they called extra equipment to Ukraine, right? So that shit's gone. And so now the whatever forces they have are overwhelmed. That leaves the rest of the city for people to just go do whatever they want.
Exactly.
Right? I mean, think about that. Think about it. They just caught some dude in New York trying to light fires. Did you see that, Nick? You're not in New York anymore, are you? Yeah,
no,
so
North Carolina.
He's in East Los Angeles.
East LA. He looks like East LA right now.
East LA.
Anyways,
born in East
what,
LA, right?
What do you guys got for that you want to chat about?
No, I just joined the conversation, Ronald. I always like to get your perspective on these current events for sure. It's I definitely tune in to the Wicked Planet from time to time to listen to what Ron's got to say.
I'll tell you that last Liberty Squawks, people need to go listen to that one. That's when I had on JJ Carroll and another JJ Carroll
I
and
saw
Michael
that.
Yon. Yeah.
I
Yeah, I had
downloaded
them
it. I
on
haven't got a
together.
chance to listen to the whole thing yet, but I was just telling Nick about it.
I'll tell you, anybody that's watching this right now, go to and it's on the Wicked Planet feed, but it's actually a Liberty Squawk show. And it's with Michael Yon and JJ Carroll. Got to go check that out.
Check it out.
That's probably one of the coolest episodes I've done in a couple of years, honestly, because those two guests are huge. Those guys. I mean, Michael Yon goes on really big shows. JJ Carroll goes on huge shows, and just
I got into that show a little bit. It was oh yeah, go ahead. I mean, didn't mean to cut you off there, Ron.
I mean, just to get them to come on my show, I'm like, yeah, I'm just a small show. Oh, that's no problem. We'll go on your show.
Nice.
You know, we'll come
I started
on
listening to the show. It was an interesting conversation y'all are having. I'm looking forward to finishing it.
Yeah,
I like the idea, the concept you got there. It's I'm obviously very pro-American in every regard of my life, in every aspect, if you will.
I think my show logo is pretty cool.
It's
It's an eagle. It's an eagle holding an M16.
Oh, I didn't even look at it.
Yeah, my new Liberty Squawks label. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I saw like a different logo in the chat. I was like, "What the hell is that?" Yeah. But I didn't click on it.
That one there is probably what, the YouTube chat?
No, the Twitter. I think there was like a different for some reason. Or maybe you changed your picture. Actually, I
did. You know what? I'm doing a social experiment. Let me explain this real quick. So on Twitter, I'm doing it as a social experiment.
I love it.
Stay cool. I changed.
That's stay chill. My bad.
Stay chill.
Stay chill. Stay chill.
So I'm just gonna post certain nice things and see what the algorithm does, because Elon Musk, he says, you got to stop posting more positive stuff if you want to get traction. I mean, I get like, I'll do a post and I'll get like 3 impressions. I mean, nobody's fucking following me.
It was a typo, Ron. It said it was supposed to say "stay chill."
Oh, hey, that. Well, see what's good about that part is you can change it.
Probably what Elon really meant.
You can change it whenever you want. You can change the name of your page. It just doesn't change your @ right. So it'll always be @ Ron from NE. But so I just put up different things there to see what kind of. And sometimes I feel like just doing something different on there.
What made you? And I'm just actually wondering and being serious. I really don't care anymore. What made you pay for the check mark? Was that to stream out, or was that like?
I did that. Okay, so I had a Twitter account back when it was Twitter.
Okay.
And I got permanently banned. So I gave it a little while.
Oh, did I know you then? I think I remember that.
You might. Yeah, you might have. Yeah, it's been right, because I went back some of my early shows that we did together, like one of my first 20 shows we did with you. And so anyways, so I said, you know what? I'm going to try, and this was before Elon actually bought it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to try a different way and see if I can start a new Twitter. So I did that. And then after about, I don't know, 2 or 3 months, because to get a blue check mark now is like stupid money compared to what I paid. I want to say, I can't remember what I paid, honestly, but it was less than $100. And now I think it's like $300 for a blue check mark or something like that.
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah.
I think I paid $8 a month.
Yeah, that sounds about right, JJ. It's less than $100.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they say when this expires, like, because that's only good for a year, right? So when that expires and you have to re-up, it's going to be a lot more money.
That's like the triple play package. After it expires, they rape you. With the cable and the phone.
Exactly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, that's a classic. Everybody knows that one.
Yeah, it's like Twitter now.
Yeah,
I do like the ability to stream here though with a blue check mark. Stream on Twixter, because I'm sure I don't know if you've noticed. I've had experiences with YouTube. I've only been briefly streaming on YouTube for about 4 months actively. Probably more like 6 months, but I've got a number of strikes and just not even trying to. You know what I mean? Or warnings, that is.
So are you streaming this on X right now, JJ?
I am. Yep. It's on X.
Nice.
It's on. Actually, I forgot to do Rumble, but it's on X and YouTube.
Oh. Well, anything that I say,
whatever I say, Rumble, I don't like. Oh, go ahead.
I say anything I say, you're definitely going to get a strike on YouTube tonight.
Oh
Right.
man, I don't think so.
Nick's back to streaming. He was suspended for the past week over there.
Yeah, I should probably take it down after this. I don't think we said anything yet.
I don't think
No,
so.
That's true. I'll try not to swear so much, but that's kind of a New England thing. That's what we do up here. So
Sure. Yeah, they used to let you stream on X without the Twixter there without the blue check mark, huh? I think everybody. So I
didn't do that bad streaming on Twitter. That sucked.
What's that?
I used to do good streaming on Twitter. That sucked that they took that away.
Yeah. Well, I was reading today that everyone's going to have to pay the $8 to get a blue check mark. Any new users to limit bots. That's going to be the new policy. If you sign for a new account on X, you got to pay the subscription.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Headless Giant just commented, and I wasn't aware of that. So you can't stream now if you're not checkmarked?
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Pay the monthly subscription.
I think I was going to try to do that on Liberty Squawks. Is try to do some streaming of the show on Twitter. It's just, I got to figure out how to do it. I don't have a lot of time to sit down and figure that stuff out. It's just like doing Twitter Spaces or X Spaces. I think that's a cool venue because then you can say, okay, basically we're going to do a show, but it's going to be open forum. So anybody that wants to come on the show, just put your hand up. That's how Twitter Spaces work. And then we'll allow you to speak and you can talk your mind. And I've listened to some spaces that were super interesting where very well-known ex-users getting into knockdown, drag-out, screaming matches on these Twitter Spaces. Like right after October 7th happened over there in Gaza and Israel.
Oh, I'm sure.
I was listening to, I think it's Mario Nafal, and he's pretty big on X. And he's pretty big on X Spaces, actually. He's probably the biggest one on X Spaces. And he had some people on there, and they got into a argument with Kit.com and these other guys. Actually, one of the guys that Elon just demonetized, and I forget the guy's name, but I want to say he's from, he might be Lebanese, actually, or Syrian, one or the other. But anyways, those were really, really cool. Like when Elon Musk had President Trump on, right?
Sure.
That was a Twitter space.
Huge.
And that Twitter space, there was
huge.
I forget how many people were millions of people were trying to watch that.
Oh yeah.
So many that it crashed. It crashed.
Yeah, I think it was over 100 million.
Yeah, I think it was at least 100 million. I think they had over 1 billion impressions.
Wow.
I'm not making that number up. I think that's a pretty legit number. But I just had to say, I'm not going to stay here and watch it. It's all froze up. I'll just listen to it the next day, because that's what's cool about a Twitter space or an X space is that you can go the next day. It's like they keep a recording. You can go back in your feed and you can listen to anybody's Twitter space.
Sure.
After the fact. What was that, Nick?
No, that is.
Well, not that I don't think he probably have to. Well, maybe he does, but I mean, Elon himself. But sometimes I do wonder, like, how much of those numbers are exaggerated. I mean, when it's your own platform, you can exaggerate anything you want.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's a lot of folks on Twixter. I mean, it's some big numbers, I think.
No, I know, but this is a funny thing. Like, he says he wants to cut down on bots, right? But yet, when you remove the option, when you remove seeing who likes your stuff, now you have no idea if those are bots or not, because you can't even look at the accounts. So, in my opinion, he has actually made bots easier to make accounts look better by removing just that.
Yeah, I think they're trying a lot. They're going through a phase right now where they're trying a lot of different things, right? So check this out. I lost like 800 followers overnight, like 3 weeks ago. So what were those? All bots? A lot of them probably were. Because you get follows from all these random chicks all the time.
Oh, it's always these Asian chicks. It's like really,
yeah. And then all of a sudden, I had like a little over 2,000 followers, and then I have like overnight like 900 and something. It's like, where'd everybody go? And that's what it was.
Bill,
It had to be the bots.
Bill, on Twitter, no lie, if people for real, go look at my account. You will watch it fluctuate a few hundred throughout the day, and what I have on my phone and what I have on my computer sometimes doesn't even match.
Doesn't match. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I
It's
noticed that
something the hell is wrong with Twitter and the followers. And the thing is I'm always, I mean, not that I'm even, not a lot, and I'm not saying this to brag, but I'm gaining followers every day on Twitter. So how the hell are you going to tell me my number's gone down 300? And then the next day it's up 4. And I'm like, I didn't gain that overnight either.
Well, I have to imagine that the folks who Elon Musk wrestled the Twixter, ownership out of the hands of, probably would love to see him fail. So I imagine there are a lot of bots. I imagine there's numerous parties trying to make a free speech platform. Twixter is far more free speech than it was 4 years ago.
Oh my God, no comparison. Yeah. It's like Twitter. You couldn't say anything,
right?
And you were getting this. Well, I did too. And then when I got permanently banned, and they banned me for threatening violence, and it wasn't nothing like that.
How dare you? How dare you?
Well, you know what it was? It was back when Biden came on and he said, by such and such a date, I'm telling you, Jack. No, listen, I'm serious. Right. The whole American army is going to be electric vehicles. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that'll work out really good. We're saving the environment, but we're still going to blow up your wedding. And it's just something like that. I just, because that's, Americans are good at blowing up Arab weddings.
Sure.
Right? I mean, it's something that we do. And, I got permanently banned for that, for threatening violence, which means that it was artificial intelligence that banned me.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So, you couldn't say anything. I was getting warnings all the time on Twitter. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck Twitter. And that's why I went over to Instagram, and I was doing really well over there. But then I was starting to see issues there, and I was getting bored with Instagram, and I'm bored with all of it right now, honestly. Yeah. It's like, I wish there was a different way to get your message out. But I think honestly, regardless of what people think about Elon Musk or what they think about the platform as a whole, I still say, as social media goes, it's probably your best venue right now, hands down.
Sure.
Hands down. Because people get banned on TikTok. I got a friend that's been banned on TikTok, no joke, like 50 times. He keeps going back. Oh, goddamn, I can't remember now. I get this time of night, man. I get these brain fogs. I can't remember anything. But, the Packing Patriot, his name is Tony. And he used to have like hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok. And he would say one thing, boom, they'd shut his account down. So he'd give it a couple of days. He'd make a variation of his name. He'd be back up. He'd get all his followers back, and they would do it 40-something times, almost 50 times he got banned on TikTok. And This was, just talking politics. There's certain things that they don't like over there. But you're not really going to get that on X now. You would have gotten it on Twitter, but you won't get it on X now. I mean, At some point, they're going to have to rope some of it in. I mean, even I admit that. Free speech is free speech until, some free speech does cross the line, in my view. But it's still free speech and it's protected, right? Now you see Zuckerberg. I guess he went on Rogan. I don't know. I haven't. Right. I think he went on recently. I haven't listened to it
today, I believe.
But now he wants to go to the community notes kind of model that X uses for Facebook.
Sure.
Now Facebook is the worst of them. It's like the worst social media platform, like for saying anything. So it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out. Did you guys freeze up?
No.
Yeah, I froze up here for a second.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I just think there's a direct correlation between the lack of free speech and the former ownership of Twitter with folks like the King, MBS's cousin over there, Prince Alaouad bin Talal, the cousin. He was going to be in line to be the king of Saudi Arabia when when the curveball was thrown about 5 years ago to make MBS his younger cousin the next king of Saudi Arabia. So, and MBS famously arrested all of his cousins after they tried to kill him, including Prince Alaouid bin Talal, and forced him to sell his Twitter, forced him to sell Chase Manhattan Bank, forced him to sell Fox News. He owned all of these things, So I think there's a direct correlation between the lack of ownership of Alaouid bin Talal and the introduction of more free speech into the Twixter.
And you remember that story was not blown up, and then what came out about that story disappeared very quickly. Because I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about.
Locking up all the Saudis in the hotel over there, or the Ritz-Carlton Riyadh.
Yeah, that, and I think, believe it or not, the Las Vegas shooting is tied into that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a response to the Las Vegas shooting.
Yeah, so that was a big story, and then all of a sudden it wasn't. And this is the other thing that really gets me, like stories that are really interesting and stories that need to be looked into. Like, I don't care what anybody thinks or says, or even what their thought process is about these drones. Dude, there's something to those drones. And then you're getting all these different things. Oh, it's an Iranian ship, which has got to be horseshit. And then I'd be more apt to believe the other theory that it's that the guy on Sean Ryan show said it's Chinese submarines launching these things. Like, I would be more apt to believe that, right?
What's your thoughts on all these intelligence agents? What's your thoughts on all these intelligence agents? The ones that are introducing these factors into the conversation. John Ryan, the Army Special Forces intel guy that he interviewed, the Special Forces guy that allegedly sent the email.
Yeah. I don't know. I've listened. I listened to that show. I actually listened to it twice in case I wasn't getting it right the first time.
Sure.
Not being in that field, but being in the field of talking and bullshitting and listening to a lot of bullshitters, the guy comes across to me as being pretty legit, honestly. But
okay, sure.
But what, was his motivation to come on there, or Sean Ryan's motivation to have him come on there to whistleblow, just to get this information out? Because both of those guys come from the intelligence community, right?
Right.
Now I'm a fan of Sean Ryan's show. I like Sean Ryan's show more than I like Rogan. And I don't mind Joe.
With his work.
I don't mind Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan has some really interesting guests on. I really enjoy what he has. He just had Peter Berg on. He's an interesting guy. He's a writer-director. I've followed a lot of his work.
Sure.
Graham Hancock.
He's a good director.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Graham Hancock and Randall Carlson. I like the shows. I like the show Graham Hancock come in and debated Flint Dibble. That was really interesting. He has a really diverse, diverse guests that come on the show. Now, there's a lot of guests that Rogan has on his show I'm not interested. Like, I'm not interested in listening to comedians. I'm not interested in listening to MMA fighters or whatever. I mean, I get it. A lot of people are into it. I just happen to not be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But really, like deep subjects, like I really want to watch the Mel Gibson interview. I guess that one was really good. And while he's there, his house is burning down in Pacific Palisades, which kind of sucks. But yeah, Sean Ryan is ex-military, or I should say former military.
SEAL, right?
And not absolutely sure on that. But he's also part of the intelligence apparatus. So, he has maybe access to a lot of really interesting people, or people that are in the intelligence business, even like that one chick that was on there, the blonde-haired lady, who does intelligence works through what they call open source intelligence, which is supposed to be intelligence information that's available to anybody, which to me kind of sounds kind of like an oxymoron, but I think that's something I would like to look into. And I mean, she had some interesting things to say. You know, there was a couple of weeks where Sean Ryan's show actually was higher in the ratings than Rogan, and Rogan's always been the #1 podcast on Spotify, right? But yeah, so my feeling
They have a
on
very
that,
similar show. I kind of refer to him as a diet Rogan.
yeah, his show is a little different. Sean Ryan's, have you seen him? Have you seen his shows?
I don't even know.
I mean, I'm briefly familiar with his work.
Yeah, his format's a little more laid back, I think, than Joe Rogan is, or whatever.
Right.
It's different. It's a little different than Joe Rogan, but I understand what you're saying, right? But one thing like Sean Ryan had on, I really enjoyed it, was when he had the Catholic exorcist priest from Nashville on. I think his name is Father Rehill, and he was talking about performing exorcisms. I mean, that stuff really interests me. That whole demonic realm thing is really something that I've been on, and that's actually what got me back into reading, the Bible, biblical stuff, Dead Sea Scrolls, et cetera, et cetera. Reading a lot about exorcisms and demons, angels and demons, because it really interests me. Yeah.
I think all these aliens are demons. And speaking of the aliens and Sean Ryan, so are you familiar with this? That supposedly in that email that was released, they redacted some coordinates, and Sean Ryan posted this. He posted this here on Twixter, claiming these were the coordinates that were redacted, and he dropped a pin here on the map here. You can see on the screen that's supposedly Area 51. So they're tying in the drones, the Tesla, Trump Tower, Vegas fireworks display. I'm not going to call it a bombing because it was a fireworks display, and Area 51. It's all now they've drawn that all into the same conversation.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that. I'm going to have to look into that because that's interesting.
I'll DM it over to you there. But yeah, he released this right after the show. So right after the show and with the email, he released it, and he's saying they're saying that they redacted that in the email. That was one of the redacted portions that's in the email, was this coordinates that refers to in the email as the base of operations, right? For the, I'll just read it what it says. It says China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years. Here we go. Only we in China have this. Here we go. I'll start from here. What we have been seeing with drones is the operational use of gravitic propulsion systems powered by aircraft, most recently China and the East Coast, but throughout history, the U.S. Only we in China have this capability. Our ops center, our operations center location for this activity is in the box below, and that's right here, and it's redacted. And that's where Sean Ryan claims that box below has the coordinates. He go ahead. Instead of unredacting the coordinates in the email, he goes ahead and translates it for us and tells us it just happens to be Groom Lake. Get the fuck out. My response is get the fuck out of here.
The fuck out of here.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, not only that, but I don't think Google Earth allows you to see Groom Lake or Area 51.
What is it?
I don't think Google Earth allows you to zoom into Groom Lake or Area 51. I think it's pixelated.
That would be interesting if you could.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we can try it right now. I'll type in this, whatever these coordinates are, and see where it takes us.
Go for it. Let's see. Let's see if it's real. Oh, you can't copy.
Well, I'm gonna. You guys keep talking. I'll do this real quick. I gotta type it in first. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's very odd, right? It seems very convenient, right?
Well, I mean, if I was a military guy, retired, or if I was part of the DOD or retired from that, or involved in intelligence in any way, dude, I don't think I'd be going on a podcast. I mean, that's just me,
right?
I mean, because people will sit and listen to what we have to say, but I mean, we have no credential. Well, I don't have any credentials for that.
I'm credentials,
but yeah, but I mean, but I can read and I can understand and I can discern information, right? Probably just as good as a lot of CIA analysts. And
analysts.
But when you go on a podcast and you have those kind of credentials, I mean, to me, that's kind of like putting yourself in, kind of like putting a target on your back.
These are the coordinates he listed as the operations center. This appears to be Groom Lake. Pull
And
out
you're
a
on
bit.
Google Earth right now.
Yeah.
Boy, that is a barren wasteland, isn't it?
See, there's Papoose Lake right there. That's where the Bob Lazar story happens, right? This is where Bob Lazar said he used to go to this old dried up lake to watch the aircraft from Groom Lake. This is Groom Lake right here. It is odd that it's not pixelated, though. I would expect it to be pixelated too. I've never searched it before until now, so
yeah.
But that is the coordinates that they provide. So there's
Well,
Vegas.
you know, I think what it is now, JJ, is that Area 51 is no longer a state secret or a national secret. You know what I mean? It's like everybody knows about Area 51 now.
Yeah, it's just odd that it's not, because there are bases that are pixelated.
Sure. I tried looking at certain areas on Antarctica on Google Earth, and those were pixelated, but this was a few years ago. I mean, I haven't tried to do it recently, but
right.
But I don't know. So I guess my message to listeners, if you're watching those shows and people are talking about these high level intelligence kind of situations, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, right? I mean, it could be totally legit. It's just like, it's just the story is so far out. If we tell the truth, nobody's going to believe it anyway. So this is, there's so much psychological warfare going on right now, and it's everywhere. It's in podcasts, it's in television shows, it's on radio shows, it's on every social media platform. There is a lot of that going on right now. Information warfare, and as long as they keep you locked to that screen, you're not looking into other stuff, and really you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? I mean, I kind of admit that I'm a little guilty of that myself, and I need to kind of break away from that. But if they give you a little bit of information or disinformation or misinformation,
sure,
and it sends you down a rabbit hole, that takes time. It's like, whenever we research anything for a show, we want to try to present information that the listeners are going to find interesting, right? I mean, you don't want to give the listeners something that everybody else is talking about. And that's another reason why I haven't been doing that many shows lately, because every single podcast is all talking about the same shit. And I don't want to talk about the same stuff. I want to talk about different stuff. But getting back to my point.
That's what I try to do here too.
See, I actually think that makes it easier. I think that makes it easier sometimes, because it really is a bunch of parrots out there. So I feel like there's so many more topics.
Oh, yeah.
It's exactly what it is, Nick. But what they do is they get you sent down that rabbit hole. Then when you get deeper into that rabbit hole and down into that labyrinth, you can't see the fucking sky anymore.
Oh, I think, and you know what?
So they can do whatever they want.
Well, they're defining the conversation that way, right?
They can do whatever they want. Nick and I were talking about this a few weeks ago. You can't see it. Yeah.
Sure. No, that's a good analogy.
It's like an intentional.
They're defining the conversation on folks.
Intentional bullshit.
And Nick and I were having this conversation a couple of weeks back, whereas you'll see in the conspiracy culture podcast community, you'll have like one interview on one show, and then they'll have the same interview on like a derivative show of that, and same interview on a derivative show of that. But all that does is define the conversation as well, right? So there is a propaganda tactic to that as well, whether or not it's designed that way or not.
So I was just going to say that, JJ. So like Goebbels said, right? Tell a lie enough times it becomes truth, right? And that's why,
exactly.
People will reach out to me and say, "Oh, I'd like to come on your show," and I like them and I like their information, but I tell them, and I don't mean to sound like an asshole, but you guys will probably understand my point. I'll say, you know what? I would love to have you on, but I would like to have you on in like 6 or 9 months. And they'll say, well, why is that? Because you've been on 5 other podcasts of people that I actually know. We all share viewers. Because, people that watch Wicked Planet are going to watch this or not watch, but listen to. They're going to listen to this particular podcast or they're going to listen to that podcast. It's going to be different show, same content. So I don't, like Nick says, I don't want to be parroting somebody, they could be a great guest. It could be a completely great guest with really cool information. But if you just did 5 back-to-back podcasts of everybody else I know, then it's counterproductive for me to take my time to have you on my show. And I'm not saying it to be mean or anything like that. It's just common sense. I would rather get somebody that's maybe never been on a podcast. And I've had a few of those. Like people come into the studio, oh man, what do I do? What if I mess up or whatever? Yeah. I get them to come into the studio, and I'm like, listen, if you freeze up, I'll pull you out of it. Don't worry about it. You know what I mean? Because they've never been on a podcast before.
Sure.
Yeah,
and it's an enjoyable conversation. I mean, I've listened to your show when you've had some unique guests in there. You have some organic conversations that aren't, parroting nonsense or actual people's opinions, and
well, not only that, but I like
discussion.
I like to have people on to have discussions about things that have nothing to do with conspiracy theories.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, I love a conspiracy theory. Obviously, I'm kind of a little bit of a conspiracy addict.
I am a conspiracy theory.
Sometimes I just want to talk about something different, man.
No, I hear you.
You know what I mean?
No, I hear you. I agree. I operate the same way. This past Wednesday night, I did one of my favorite Operation GCD games from my 1.0 version of my podcast from 2016 to 2020. And that was 6 Degrees of Charles Manson. He's a unique character in the landscape of America and American folklore. And, he's kind of connected to everybody and everything.
It really is a strange story, isn't it?
Oh,
and here's the thing too, like with Charles Manson, like I'm not comparing him to Adolf Hitler, but what I'm going to say works.
Adolf
for both.
Hitler.
What I'm going to say to them works for both of these guys, right?
Well, they both had swastikas.
They're both Nazis, correct?
Right. But neither one of them actually killed anybody that we know of.
Sure.
Right. It's just like this famous murder case we have in New Hampshire called Pamela Smart. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
I'm there.
Pamela Smart.
As a fellow New Englander, Ron, I got to follow New England crime. Like my buddy, my old PR rep, Buffalo Jared Revisa. He's a fellow New Englander,
Well, he'd be familiar with Pamela Smart then. So Pamela Smart was a high school teacher's, I don't know if she was actually a teacher or if she was a teacher's aide or whatever. Really good looking chick, right? And she wanted to off her husband so she could collect some money. And so she seduced some high school kids with like stripping, and I guess she had sex with one of them or whatever, and convinced them that they needed to kill her husband. Kill her husband so that they could be together. So they did it. They killed her husband.
We got a Joey Buttafuoco, Amy.
Very similar setup. Yeah. Joey Buttafuoco.
We got a name, Amy something.
Amy Fisher.
Yeah.
Amy Fisher. Yeah. There we go. Yep. Amy Fisher, Joey Buttafuoco. Very similar circumstances. It sounds like
similar but different. And here's the deal. The 3 guys that were involved in the actual murder have served their sentences and all gotten out on parole. She is in jail for prison. She's in prison for life without parole, and she never killed anybody.
Right. She was the mastermind, huh?
So that, she was using the tools that God gave her.
On that note, what kind of name is Joey Buttafuoco anyway?
It's Italian, isn't it?
Well, I realize that, but I mean, Buttafuoco, get serious. Change your name, buddy.
So we had this thing, right? It was big in our family. If you walked into somebody's house and they had something really like obnoxious looking piece of furniture, or like a really weird looking lamp or a chandelier, we would say, "Oh, that's kind of Buttafuoco." What's that mean? Because that's something that Joey Buttafuoco would have in his house.
Yeah, like them pants he used to wear. Like he was famous for wearing them 90s bodybuilding pants.
Hey, he was an auto body guy too, so.
Was he?
I remember back when I was in my late 20s, early 30s, I had this young girlfriend. I want to say she had just turned 18 or 19. And everybody was
calling me. Give her the old Buttafuoco?
Well, everybody was calling me Ronnie Buttafuoco because I had a body shop, an auto body shop, and I had this real pretty young girl. You know, when I'm like 30,
awesome.
she's like 18 or 19. Yeah, Ronnie Buttafuoco. I had that
That's
name for a long
fantastic.
time.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, like I often wonder, like, how does a story like that, any of these stories, how do they make it? How do they get propelled such into the national media over some of these weird kind of, I
Well,
just don't think they're,
because Amy Fisher went to his house and shot his old lady point blank in the face.
right, but like, why is that national news? Who are like what? You know what I mean? Is it just kind of
distract us? It was
glamorizing the violence the news media often does, or is it?
Yeah,
are these people part of the cults?
Oh, doesn't she do porn now?
Oh,
Amy Fisher.
Yeah, I think I've heard like her.
Boy, she'd be kind of old for porn now. I mean, she's
Yeah,
got a
I remember Alyssa Milano played her in the TV movie.
Okay, so
Alyssa Milano did porn, right?
Okay, so getting back to Pamela Smart.
Is Amy Fisher?
There was a famous movie, and I want to say it was called To Die For, that Nicole Kidman actually played the part of Pamela Smart.
Oh.
And it was based on a movie that a woman named Joyce Maynard wrote a book about. She wrote the book. And what's interesting about Joyce Maynard, just because I was familiar with her name, is she used to be shacked up with J.D. Salinger, the writer. So it's
how do you spell this? Joyce Maynard?
Joyce Maynard, yeah.
M-A-N-A-R-D what? M-A-N-A-R-D?
M-A-Y-N-A-R-D.
And
I want to say
else is a Maynard?
And I want to say the book was To Die For.
To Die For?
Yeah, and I mean it was a fictional version of the story, but it was based on the Pam Smart story.
Okay, we were just talking about the Maynards the other night. Charles Manson's a Maynard. I'm also a Maynard from Pikeville. We're both from Pikeville, Kentucky. Maynards.
Yeah, that's her right there.
You To Die For, huh?
Yeah, and she was one of J.D. Salinger's girlfriends.
She was, yeah. She wrote a memoir about that, huh? At Home in the World.
Yeah, and she would have never been able to release that when he was alive. I'm trying to remember when he passed away, but he lived in New Hampshire.
Salinger did, huh?
Yeah.
He was a spook, right?
I don't know. I had some questions about that.
He was an OSS man.
Because he was involved in something during World War II. Yeah, so pre-CIA.
Yeah. Whether or not he continued on doing that work, I guess, is the real question, right?
He definitely had some psychological issues. And you know what? Here's my question. We're not really on any specific topic here, so I won't say we're going off a topic, but so I've read a lot of his stuff, right? And of course, J.D. Salinger is famous for the book The Catcher in the Rye.
Yeah.
And they call it a novel, but dude, you can read this thing in like 3 nights. It's not very long. About what was the kid's name? Holden Caulfield. I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, you're right. Holden Caulfield. That's correct.
Yeah. And how he grows up around money, and he's in money. His parents are wealthy. He lives in New York and Manhattan or whatever, and just decides he's just going to go rip shit and be a fucking idiot, right? That's almost J.D. Salinger writing about himself, because J.D. Salinger came from money, and he acted like he didn't want any part of that, right? And then he got into, they wouldn't let him into service. He had to like pull some strings. Somebody pulled some strings so he could go into the service during World War II. So, but he writes this book, Catcher in the Rye, and then he just explodes. They sold over, I want to say right now it's like 60 or 65 million copies of that book. but it's like, you know, he wrote a bunch of short stories, and I read one the other night, and it was called "A Good Day for Banana Fish." It's a very short story, but to me, it's got a little bit of a pedophilic ring to it. You know, for anybody that wants to read, you could probably read this short story in like 15 or 20 minutes. And I'm like thinking to myself, was this fucking dude part of that cult too? You know what I mean? Was he part of the pedo cult? You know, because he was a recluse. He didn't want to be around people. He basically drove off every woman that was ever part of his life. He drove them right off, including Joyce Maynard. And yet his work is revered by, you know, millions of people.
Yeah, I think he's definitely part of it.
We're just kind of getting back to the same conversation of how content creators, like back in his day, he was a content creator.
Sure.
Right? There's no other way you can slice. I mean, people that were famous authors, Stephen King's the same thing. He's another fucking weirdo.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But, you know, Ernest Hemingway was into a lot of sketchy shit, you know, during like when he was down in Cuba.
A lot of nefarious shit.
Yeah, he was a Castro sympathizer.
Oh, you know?
So that got him into a lot of trouble. And I don't know.
How about a fellow New Englander, H.P. Lovecraft?
Well, there you go. Yeah. Yeah, you know, there's
I just learned of this one today, actually. Have you ever heard of this one? He ghost wrote a novella or a short story called The Mound about an ancient Indian burial mound in Oklahoma that's haunted by a headless ghost.
I have heard of that, but I didn't know that was him.
Yeah, he was a ghostwriter for that, apparently.
I just started getting into his stuff. I bought a book that's got a lot of his stuff in it. Yeah, he wrote some bizarre stories. He wrote a story about the Bennington, well, what is now the Bennington Triangle over there in Vermont.
Sure.
Which is a kind of a strange phenomenon. It's like the Bermuda Triangle in New England. Yeah.
The site of the Bennington, the Battle of Bennington, marked by a giant dick statue today.
Yeah. So the Battle of Bennington actually wasn't in Bennington. It was outside of Bennington, but I know what you're saying. But the Bennington
triangle.
Yeah, it fits within the triangle. Glastonbury Mountain is the mountain that all this weird stuff happens on. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, yeah. You're talking my language, Ron. I've been into these stories since I was a youngster growing up in Vermont.
Well, we can get together and do a show about it sometime. I did one probably almost a year ago on the Bennington Triangle.
I was just reading this book the other day. Right here for you. Ghosts, Ghouls, and Unsolved Mysteries by Joseph Citro. Green Mountain Ghost, Ghouls, and Unsolved Mysteries.
Oh,
all stories from Vermont. But it has a lot of the Bennington Triangle stuff in there. Glastonbury Mountain. But yeah, this has always been a very unique site to me. This the Bennington Monument.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a good picture of it there.
And it's always an obelisk.
Yep.
I've never been there in person, but I want to go there. See, when I go to Vermont, I go north.
There's an elevator to the top.
There's an elevator?
Yeah, they have an elevator in there to the top.
No kidding. When I go to Vermont, I go north. One of my sisters lives up in Vermont. We used to go to Vermont all the time when I was a kid. Bennington is south. Like I go through Bennington on my way to see my cousins that live outside of Albany. We go right through Bennington to get there. Yep. Yeah.
Southwest corner. Yep. Yeah, I don't normally go up. When I go up to Vermont, I usually cut up through go north of Albany, northeast, and cut through Whitehall, New York, home of the birthplace of the U.S. Navy, and home of the Bigfoot. A lot of Bigfoot tales.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of those up there. Northern New Hampshire and Vermont, central Vermont, big time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Whitehall's due east of Rutland or due west of Rutland.
Yeah. So you come across just south of Lake George then. by Lake
Oh
George.
yeah, sometimes I cut up through Lake George, depending on
Yeah.
what I want to do.
And a little bit further is Champlain too. So Champlain actually dumps
That's where I
into
grew
Lake
up.
George. Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I grew up, in Burlington, just outside of Burlington.
Yeah.
Spent my summers there. Huntington, Vermont, Camel's Hump. A town founded by the Society of Cincinnati.
What's the town up there? There was a speedway we used to go to when I was a kid. When I was a kid, my brother-in-law worked at Thunder Road Speedway in Barrie. And
Okay.
there was one up in Milton. I want to say it was called Catamount Speedway. Did you ever hear of that? You might be too young.
No, it doesn't sound familiar. But I was never really into cars back then, especially.
Yeah, what's the kind of strange place on Champlain? Isle Lamont. Does that sound right? There's an island on Champlain.
Yeah. Yep.
Where's all the rich fuckers live? All the strange.
Yeah. I think Bernie
people.
Sanders got a spot over there.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. That Democratic
Right.
Socialist.
Right.
I tell you what, if he's got a place,
homes.
if he's got a place on Isle Lamont, then he paid a couple of million for it.
Oh yeah. Well, his wife ruined that Champlain College there in Burlington.
Oh, that's right. She
them
bankrupted
bankrupts.
it, right, or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of
Mike-
interesting stuff in New England, and I think it makes sense because New England is, in New York is the oldest part of the country. You know, a lot of people would argue, well, St. Augustine's the oldest city. Well, yeah, but that's back in the pirate days. That's, that was a little different than what was going on in the Northeast. And that's why I say there's just a lot of weird stuff here. A lot of weird stuff goes on in New England. I get a weird vibe, like every time I step outside my house, I get a weird vibe.
Well, I mean, a lot of those New England towns are still very secluded, to this day. Through different hollers and different valleys between mountain ranges that are mountains there in the northern Appalachians.
There's a town in northern New Hampshire that in the wintertime you got to go through Vermont to get to it. No, excuse me, you got to go through Maine to get to it.
No.
Because the mountain roads are closed in the winter because they don't maintain them. They don't plow them. Yeah, I mean, probably this year you could drive over the mountain road to get to it. But,
thanks to Al Gore and his climate change.
I had to go up there to look at a car for an insurance company once, and I saw it was the name of the town is Chatham, which when I hear Chatham, I think of the Cape, right? Because Chatham is on Cape Cod. And I'm like, Chatham, New Hampshire. I never heard of such a thing. So I looked it up on the map, and I had to go in the winter to look at this. It was a Mustang. And like, how the fuck do I get there? So there's no roads. So you have to go up to Conway, cut over into Freiburg, and then drive north on the New Hampshire-Maine border. Then you cut back into New Hampshire to get to this town. So that's, tell you what, kind of a weird vibe there too. Like this place is really cool. How come nobody knows about this place? You know what I mean?
Up there. I just pulled it up. It's up there by Mount Washington, huh?
Yeah. It's right on the Maine border, though. You'll see that.
Yeah. No, it's super secluded in that area. I mean, even anywhere up in the Mount Washington area, that's all fairly secluded, right?
Yeah,
kind of
that's
like
all weird.
The Northwest
territory up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do they call that? Northeast Kingdom?
Yeah, I'm sorry, Northeast Kingdom. There you go. Yep.
Yeah. That's just north of where my sister. Yeah, just north of where my sister lives. I'll tell you what, that's very, very pretty country up there. When you get up in northern Vermont, northern New Hampshire, northern Maine, it is nothing like what it's like down southern parts here.
Sure.
I mean, it's just not. It's like a different world. It's like you go back 20 years.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's one of the it's one of the things I've always enjoyed about visiting that part of the country.
Yeah, well, you guys are going to have to come and visit like during good weather. Like you plan on staying for a couple of days. We could go see some really interesting stuff.
Sure, that'd be great. I'd definitely take you up on that.
I love New
England in the summer. That's some of my favorite places to visit.
Yeah, you got to come up here. See, so before it was closer for Nick to come up because he's been up. But now he's down in the Carolinas. How you liking it down there?
Much better. The New York for sure.
Is it war? You guys are going through a little bit of a cold spell right now, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's still nothing like.
Well, I mean, not cold for you, but
Yeah.
probably cold for the natives.
Yeah, but it is. The weather's a lot better. It's a lot nicer around here, and even the people are
Did y'all
different.
get snow?
We got like I would say it's like freezing rain a little bit, just
Yeah.
before, and then it turned to rain. So
It's a very rare storm in the south. I mean, Atlanta had a few inches there.
I saw that. There were some videos that
saw
were
folks
supposedly
skiing.
just outside of Atlanta, and I'm like, that's not Atlanta. There's snow on the ground.
Right. I know, right? I saw snow in Dallas and Oklahoma too. These are all, fairly uncommon areas to get such large storms.
It's really hard for me to believe. Let's jump into another conspiracy theory. I don't know how much longer you guys want to go.
Yeah,
but,
I got time.
I'm gonna have to take off here pretty soon. But there's no doubt in my mind that somebody's messing with the weather.
Oh yeah.
Al Gore?
No, I'm talking HARP. I'm talking radio waves. I think Teresa had mentioned something in the chat about some weather manipulation, obviously with stuff that they spray in the sky. They never really have come out and told us why they're doing it. They've told us, admitted that they do it. Like at least they did that, right? Like yeah, we're geoengineering or whatever you want to call it. Okay, sure. So why? Are you trying to keep us from seeing something? I mean, look at all the possibilities. Is there something in the sky you don't want us to see? Is there something going on with the sun that could seriously affect humans, but you don't want to tell us? So you'll cause like a mass hysteria by spraying shit in the sky and blocking out the sun.
Right.
And then you hear the stories about the experiments that they did on San Francisco when they sprayed viruses in the air just to see how many people would get sick. Like, dude, that's
they did that. They sprayed mustard gas in St. Louis. I mean, they've done that in a number of cities.
Another example. But they sprayed some type of flu virus over San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And I forget what it was. It might have been in the 30s or 40s or something like that. And it was a government operation, and they wanted to see how many people would get sick, if it would spread, and how sick the people would get. I mean, come on, you're doing this to your own people. So who would think for 1 minute that they're not doing it again? Right? All right, there you go. Sure. Thrash just said Operation Sea Spray.
Real quick, if you don't mind, I just want to do a selfish plug and say you can go check out the Occult Rejects. We covered this topic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But who's to say, like, we were just talking about the COVID fog. I mean, who's to say that that's doesn't have some legitimacy to it, right?
That's a good idea.
I mean,
they did the same thing with light. Like they took light bulbs that had stuff in it and broke them in the tunnels in the subway tunnels in New York City, and we'll let to see how fast it could travel with just using the air from the trains.
Well, that's strange.
Yeah, well, just the trains creating that vacuum in that tunnel, Nick, would suck that shit right out, right?
Yeah,
I'm sure definitely distributed it for sure.
All I know is that weather is nothing like what it used to be. Everybody says that we had a hot summer. I can remember summers that were much hotter for longer periods of time. I can remember it being so hot on Memorial Day weekend that we would have to put air conditioners in because you literally couldn't be inside your house. It was so hot, right? And then hit Father's Day, which is bike week up here. So freaking hot. People were passing out and having to go to the hospital because it was so hot outside, right? Like, we don't have that now. Like Memorial Day, like 6-7 years ago on Memorial Day, I had 2 inches of ice on the deck at the camp.
Yikes.
We were going to go boating that day. You know what I mean? And it's like, and it's freaking cold. And now it's cold into June. So it doesn't get hot enough to even get into pool until almost July 1st. It's freaking ridiculous. Like, you should be able to hop into your pool on Memorial Day. And you should be able to stay in. Well, I stay in my pool until like mid-October. But I think the last time I was Well, the last time I was in my
purple
pool
or
this fall, I want to say whatever weekend was around October 10th was the last time I was in my pool. And I'll admit it was cold. It was 62 degrees. But now, like, we don't have any snow. You know, and snow is important to a state like New Hampshire because we're a tourist state. You know,
Yeah.
it's cold enough to where they're making snow up in the mountains. Yeah, they're making snow at the ski areas. You know, it's no problem. But, you know, snowmobiling tourism is huge here. And finally, they're getting snow up north where people like to go snowmobiling. But I mean, all it's going to take is one good warm front and it's all gone.
Yep.
So this is not our standard weather. And it's not global warming. I don't care what anybody says. Global, you know, we are in climate change. Climate change, I agree with. Global warming, I don't. Climate change, because climate changes every day. Climate changes every day. So yeah, it's climate change. And what a lot of people don't understand.
It changed from. I mean, but you can. There's any time that these climate change arguments come about, though, it seems like they can always be dispelled just by just a quick look at historical data, like, you know, the cold days in the summer. Like there was one summer in the 1800s that snowed all summer in Vermont, right? You know what I mean?
New Hampshire too. Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. So
yeah, it was. They called it the summer without a summer.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah, and actually that caused a lot of trouble because everybody's crops failed because it actually was cold. It like snowed in July, right?
Right.
But where was I? I lost my train of thought.
Oh yeah, I apologize for interrupting. You were talking about the variations in weather and how
the tourism. Okay, yeah, the tourism.
Existing.
So, but now, unless we get a ton of rain, we're going to go right into a drought. New England has been in a drought for like the last 4 or 5 years, with the exception of the last year and a half. Like we had that one summer before last, it rained 18 out of 19 weekends. And I don't mean like washout rain, but it would rain either on a Saturday or a Sunday. And this last summer, we didn't hardly get any rain. I never had to water my plants so much in my freaking life this last summer, right? And now it's dry as a bone out there. You know, you talk about these forest fires out there in California, like no joke. We could have forest fires here right now. That's how dry it is because it's been so cold and we've had all this wind. I mean, it's crispy out there, right? But normally right now we'd have 2 or 3 feet of snow, right? So climate is changing. A lot of people don't realize that we're just coming out of, like, we're still coming out of the last ice age. Like this shit doesn't happen in a decade or even 100 years. Like this stuff takes thousands of years to change. And I'm trying to remember when our last ice age was. But I mean, so if we're coming out of the last ice age, wouldn't it make logical sense that it's going to get warmer? It's going to be warmer. You know,
I mean, if that was our low ceiling, right, of temperatures.
Yeah. But anyways, I just wanted to let everybody know that I believe that we're definitely having weather manipulation that's going on. And I think it's causing a lot of trouble. And not only that, I think it's making people cuckoo. I think whatever they're spraying in the air or something's making people are out of their fucking minds.
Yeah.
And they've been getting out of their minds. You see, you just go out shopping and you just observe people. And it's like, is everybody here on antipsychotic beds or something?
Yep.
Or people driving aggressively, like majorly aggressively. I had this dude in a Mercedes. He was behind me at the light in our road. Like people do 70 miles an hour on the main road down where the haunted garage is, right? And the road is not straight. Like the road's got long bends in it and stuff like that. So this guy at the light, he's right behind me and he pulls into the other lane so he can see if anything's coming and he pulls right back. And then he starts to pull into the breakdown lane and then pulls right back. I'm like, buddy, what the fuck are you doing?
Right.
You are going to kill somebody. My niece got killed on this road, right?
Damn.
So we're coming up and I've got like it might have even been like a plumbing van or an Amazon van in front of me, like a big cube van. Double yellow line, curvy road, going to the right. So when he pulls out to pass, he can't see what's coming. If the curve was going to the left, he could see if somebody was coming or not, but it wasn't. It was going to the right. This idiot pulls out, passes me, and I mean, dude, we're doing 60. Like, we're sufficiently going above the speed limit. He passes me, he passes this other dude, and all of a sudden I can see this car's coming in the other direction, and they're pulling into the breakdown lane, so, you know, it was close. I get 3 miles up the road, the dude's at the gas station. I'm like thinking to myself, if this was 20 years ago, I'd have probably drove in there and bashed his windshield out. But because I'm old now and I'm mellow, I let it go. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, you just risked multiple people's lives driving like an idiot only to just stop a few miles up the street. What the fuck was your hurry?
Yep.
But this is the rationale that people use. People are not thinking straight. I see road rage incidents almost every day, people flipping out. Just go on any town community page and listen to the shit that people are spewing. It's like, you're upset about what? And I even had to chime in on one of the posts. I'm like, man, it's a good thing these people didn't live here 20 or 30 years ago. They wouldn't know which end was up, because that's when these towns were really crazy back then. Everybody's toned down now, you know? But I mean, we didn't have road rage back then. We didn't have people acting like totally crazy. We didn't have people whacking out about stupid shit. We didn't have people causing trouble for other people just because they want to cause trouble. Because people used to mind their own business. People used to say, you know what? Something's up with that, but ain't none of my business. It's not hurting anybody. I'm not going to say anything. And that's what
I totally agree with you, Ron. I think people have lost their damn minds. You know, the lines between reality and fiction, meme fiction and reality, meme and fiction and reality, if you will, what I like to call we're in our post meme world 2024 era here in 2025. People done lost their minds. They've gone full on tardball. You know, I mean, in every aspect of their lives.
There's no question in my mind about that. And you know what? Maybe I'll come on another Friday, and we could talk more too about what we think the roots of that are. I have my thoughts on it, right? So, I'll show you
a quick message before we part ways here, Ron. On that same note, then you're welcome back anytime, though. Of course, I don't want to speak for Nick, but I'm sure he'll share the same sentiment.
Oh, Nick will have me on anytime.
When I went to his house, if I didn't like.
But do you remember the Tim Burton film Batman? Did I freeze up? Shit.
Yeah, we can.
We can hear you fine.
Okay. The Tim Burton film Batman, the plot line of that, if you recall, the Joker, the Jack Nicholson Joker, was poisoning all the folks of Gotham City, right? But doing it through the water supply, through the shampoo, through the soaps. So you got to think about all the chemicals that people introduce in their lives every day now, right?
100%. Yeah, I've been switching over. I mean, no, you're good. We have our own well here, so we don't have like a fluoride issue. But we have that great chemical that New Hampshire's famous for, arsenic. On my water test, it's just barely in the red. My wife says, "How's that?" I said, "It's not red enough for me. It tastes fine." I'm not dead. I've been drinking this water for 30 years, but yeah. So we don't have fluoride in the water in this town. We don't have city water, but yeah. I think this it might be a good subject to do another Fridays, like before I do my trip, because
where are you going?
Aruba.
Ooh, fancy.
So no, Aruba's a desert, man.
That's fancy. That's fancy.
It's pretty cool. I like it there.
Any Caribbean island speaks Dutch. That's fancy.
Right? Oh no, yeah. Aruba's not in the Caribbean, no. So a lot of people think it's in the Caribbean. It's just off the coast, the northern tip of Venezuela, and
it's right next to Curacao.
Yeah, well, it's one of the ABC islands. So you have Aruba, Bonaire, and Curacao.
And then Venezuela, right off of Venezuela.
Venezuela's just south of it. Yeah, if you go up to the highest point in Aruba, you can see Venezuela. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but I really like it there because it's Dutch. It's very American friendly. They speak English. They use American money. It's just, and there's no.
They kidnap young blonde girls.
That's the only thing. My wife is blonde. We've been there multiple times, and I still come home with her. So,
Yep.
but yeah, so there's been a couple of strange disappearances there, but there's virtually no crime. There's virtually no crime. There's no homeless people there. The biggest problem they have a big stray animal problem there. As a matter of fact, the last time we flew back from Aruba, we had actually brought back a couple of kittens for a lady in Boston that she adopted through the adoption site on Aruba. And we volunteered to bring the kittens home with us. So that was kind of cool. But anyways, yeah, guys, I got to wrap this up. But I think the subject of our next meeting should be why is everybody going, cool, 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 cool.
I like it. No, Ron, it's great to have you join us, man. Definitely enjoyed the conversation. It's been a while since all three of us convened here.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, well, we got to get back on Idaho pretty soon.
Yeah,
absolutely. The trial just got delayed again, so we got some more time there before that starts.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, and there's some new revelations coming out about Kohlberger too. I don't know. He might be part of a bigger conspiracy if he is guilty. I mean, I know that we've been talking that we don't think he is, and I don't know. The jury is still out in my eyes, but I don't see how they. If he is guilty, I still don't see how they can really tie him into it. So let's just leave it at that, and then we'll come back into it a little bit more next time. But
yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, thank you everybody listening in the chats, listening on X, watching on YouTube. Come follow my page right now. It's called Stay Chill, but it's still at Ron from NE. Come and check that out. Listen to the Wicked Planet and be looking for more from Liberty Squawks.
Nice.
Kind of a new thing.
I got your stuff in the links, your links in the chat already, Ron. I appreciate you plugging.
And maybe next time we get together, I'll reveal one of my projects that I have in the work, and it's going to be a YouTube show.
Oh,
it's totally nothing to do with conspiracy theories. It's actually I'm working on putting it all together now, and it's going to be, it's going to be something different, but it's going to be kind of cool too at the same time. So so Nick, JJ, thank you again. I always love getting together with you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Nick, you got any closing words for us here, bud?
You know what? If you want to know more about weather modification patents, you can go check out the Occult Rejects as well. Nice. To talk about that, and we did a show on that. But no, I had a really good time. It was always nice chatting with you, Ron. And thanks again. JJ.
Yeah, thank you, Nick. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys.
Well, see y'all next time, man.
I'm gonna Irish goodbye.
Well, that's it. That's the show here, folks. So the next time you're out on the town, visiting your local watering holes, or perhaps just meandering around, and you hear the unmistakable sounds of metal clanking, and you spot signs of a disturbance, well, check your six. Look in that garbage can, because you never can tell. The GCDs may be loose in your town.